Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. Today we are back in the land of the tiny tiles. Yes, we are once again looking at Earth 2. Because there's been some updates. Not that kind of update. They don't do that sort of update. So, just to catch everyone up to speed on what Earth 2 is. It's claiming to be the metaverse, Ready Player One. But currently all it is an auction house for JPEGs. And not even JPEGs on the blockchain, right? These are JPEGs on Shane Isaac's very own personal database, which kind of, goes against the whole ethos of metaverse. It's not Web3. But I want to start off by doing something that I've always said I'll do if the time arises, and that is give credit where credit is due. So, if you remember rightly, Shane said he was not going to pay me the $10,000 for the challenge that he set me a month ago. Instead, he said he was going to donate it to charity. So I was actually allowed to submit a charity of my choice that got, it made it into the vote. And I voted for Child's Play charity. Child's Play is a charity that basically gets consoles and games secondhand and donates them to children who are going to be spending a long time or a lifetime in hospitals. So it's a charity that we've done charity streams for in the past. We've raised a lot of money for them already. And thanks to you guys, that choice actually won the vote. Shane paid the money to Child's Play. I've seen the receipt, and I did actually confirm it with Child's Play myself that he has indeed donated the money. So kudos to Shane, right? There are now children in hospitals that are going to be less bored for less of the time that they spend in there. Brilliant outcome. Would have loved the 10k, but this is an outcome I'm happy with. So kudos to Shane. Now, the real reason that we're all here is the update that the update that Earth 2 have pushed out. And boy, is it an odd one once again. So, they've now revealed heat maps for some of these resources. So, up here, we can see, when I'm on my account, we can go heat map, resource, and then from the drop down, we can pick gold or oil. And this is where things get kind of odd. Because in Shane's videos, he had mentioned that they are geologically linked to real-world deposits. And everybody had always said, how are you going to do that? Because if you look online, there aren't heat maps of where all the gold in the world is that can translate to this medium of data. The same goes for oil. There's not really an API for that, because why would there be? Right? Unless you're making an autonomous drone that goes round and mines oil in the future, there's not really much point for this. There's no need for it. And the big mystery was, how is he going to do it? How are they going to have oil and gold placed in the world where they should be in the real world? And the answer to that is, they're not. They're not. They have placed them in some very vague places where, if you look it up, yes, there is oil in those locations. However, there are a lot of locations that people on the game own that do not have the resource that they do in the real world, such as gold or oil. Now, this is a problem, of course, because if people have bought tiles on land in the real world where they know there is a gold deposit or a gold mine that is close to their house, or an oil rig that is very close to their house that's just, pulling up oil, they expect that they are getting those resources, and that is why they bought them, on the promise of the resource being there. Now, don't worry. Shane's got a solution. Daddy Shane always has a solution. And it's as ridiculous as just about any other solution or update they've added to this game. You can pay them to look into a claim that you've made about a real-world resource being missing from your plot. But you also apparently need to be able to provide proof that that thing is where they say it is. It hurts my brain to try and wrap my mind around the thought process that went into this. Because let's just go back over all the things that people are currently paying for a tile. So, we'll zoom in a bit more, give you something different to look at. So here's oil. Now, you've purchased land here where this oil well is. Actually, no. We'll go here. You know that in the real world, here, there is oil. You buy the tile, you buy a mentor, You buy gems to put into the mentor. You pay your taxes, of course. You buy an EPL, which is a custom name for your plot of land so it stands out. And then the thing that you bought that land for isn't there, so you need to pay more money so they can, I don't know, launch a geological survey on that land. I don't know how they're going to do this because this will become a mess really, really quickly. You're essentially paying extra to have the game creators give you the thing that you bought because you knew it was going to be there, but then it wasn't there. So now you have to pay someone to investigate why it's not there when that is literally what they should be doing. This is a mess. Everybody said that if this was the way they were going to do it, this wouldn't work, and it's not working. And this is just 2 resources. Now think about this. This now means that there's no reason to speculatively buy land in Earth 2. Because if gold hasn't been found there in the real world, it's not going to be there in Earth 2. So why would you speculate and buy land based off? It's just a bit bewildering. It really is. And so tons of people have already been atting Shane on Twitter saying, hey, I bought land on a gold mine near my house, or I bought an oil well near my house. These tiles don't have these oil wells or gold. And this is where I found out about this, that you can actually pay them to look into why the thing they sold you isn't where it's supposed to be. Insane. And I'm going to be honest, this is one of my main criticisms with Earth 2, aside from the whole, where's the game, right? Everybody loves to say, where's the game? And yes, it's become a bit of a meme, and it's even become a bit of a meme in the Earth 2 community. And they've kind of embraced it, right? Like, what is the game? Where is it? But my other criticism is just the fact that they make their investors and they don't call them investors, their players pay out of the nose for something that should be standard, for something that should just be there. And it's constant. This is a perpetuating system of people being so invested. You know, it's the sunk cost fallacy. By the time you've bought your tile, put your mentor on there, bought your gems, bought your EPL, well, why wouldn't you go and pay to get the things that you deserve on there? And this also goes to show a really big problem. That the developers at any point in time can change these things. They can just put gold in a place where gold wasn't and say, oh, well, we've had proof from a geological survey. Like, can you imagine having to go to a geological surveyor, tell them you want a geological survey on your back garden because you know it was built on top of a collapsed gold mine or whatever, and then when they're like, oh, do you plan on mining here to get all this gold out? No. I've got a JPEG that I'm very heavily invested in, and I'm going to mine the gold out of that. It's insane. We've reached a new level of insanity. I also want to give props for something else. Again, I will give props where props are deserved. So, there was a key bit of feedback that I gave in my Earth 2, Earth 3 Shane Callum challenge video, right? The bit of feedback that I gave is, if you made devlogs and you did not, big them up to be things that they're not, calling things a proprietary technology when it's just a material instance shader, and saying it's a proprietary model when it's literally just an asset. Yes, it's one they've created. Props to them for doing that. But they've made things out to be things that they're not. And that's kind of frustrating. And that was my one big bit of feedback. And it seems like they've actually taken that on board in the last 2 devlogs. They've shown off the lignator. Don't know what that word means, actually. Probably me being dumb, but I should look into that. And they also showed off the research facility. It's kind of strange. So the last few days, me and Josh Shrive-Hayes have been playing a lot of Factorio, and I've got hooked on it. And the more I look at what they seem to be building, based off just everything they're doing, they're seeming to be making an MMO version of Factorio. Genuinely, it all starts to make sense to me that that is what they're kind of doing, and that's all I can see them doing so far. There is no real metaverse here, it's just a 3D Factorio, which is basically satisfactory, right? Now, let's listen to the change in language from the last two devlogs to these, because I'm impressed that they've actually done it, that they've changed up the way they're talking about it.
Dear Earth 2 players and community, in this vlog we'll be introducing details about the second ecosim building, the Lignator. As mentioned in our previous blog, we plan to showcase more Phase 2 buildings over coming weeks and months to introduce our players to the look, feel, size, and purpose of each ecosim building. After researching the Lignator blueprint in the research lab, players will be able to place it on their property as a hollow building. After this placement, the player can command construction droids to use previously woven resources required to complete the construction of the Lignator on their property. In its most basic...
Also, I just want to say, again, credit where credit's due, it looks kind of cool. If they were making a kind of 3D version of Satisfactory, of Factorio, these are cool. It's got cool animations on it. But it's not quite what they were saying they were building. Another issue that you'll see as the camera pans around here, an issue that I already thought of last time, but there wasn't enough footprint of the building to show this off or to call them out on it yet. The ground where they're building needs to be flat. It needs to be, because they're placed on concrete blocks. And as you can see here, they've flattened out the ground where they've placed the asset. How's that going to work in their 3D one-to-one copy of Earth? Because nowhere is ever this flat. You can get things that are close to this flat, but you never find perfectly flat stuff unless it's like salt lakes or something, and even those aren't perfectly flat.
The Lignator will have a rectangular footprint spread across 2 tiles, located directly next to one another. It can be loaded with wood and fresh water in order to create construction wood building blocks. Construction wood will be a key requirement for creating almost every other ecosim building, making it not only an important building block overall, but one that will be required early in the tech tree to progress with creating.
And this is something else that I find to be a bit strange. They keep talking about the tech tree. I've not seen any tech tree. Now, I have looked for it. I really have. But I've never seen it. And I've asked other Earth 2 players, and they don't seem to know anything about the tech tree either. They just know that there is the word tech tree and it keeps being thrown around. I feel like all of these things are very important information that should be relayed to the person who's investing in this. Because if they don't relay this information, how can you make a good investment? I mean, this is a terrible investment anyway. I stand by that. Earth 2 is an awful investment for multiple reasons. But it's a strange one to me.
Dear Earth 2 players and community, in this vlog we will be introducing details about the third ecosim building, tech tree after the Mentor, and is required to research blueprints for the construction of other basic ecosim buildings.
Yeah, and this kind of also falls into what I was saying, where it really does just feel like Factorio. You have to build the research center to research other blueprints to make other things, like the Lignator or whatever it was called. Or the flaccid penis spinny tower that we saw from the other video. What is it? The water tower. That thing. I've mentioned this before, that Shane has said that he would be willing to do an interview with me. And I'm actually kind of interested in taking him up on that now. Because the weird thing is, the more they show off, I actually have more questions than before I saw the thing they've shown off. And I kind of feel like everybody is in the same camp with that. Because they don't make sense. At least not in relation to anything else that's been said. And again, here, it's had to be flattened out to place this building on. Now, does this mean you can't build on a hill? Or does it mean the hill will be flattened? If that's the case, what was the point in the hill being there? Because if players want to make the most of all their space, they're going to want to put buildings on every tile they have for maximum, efficiency. So you'll have spanning kilometers of player-owned tile land that's just flat. Will it come to a harsh fall-off if they build halfway up a mountain? Does that flatten out completely? There's just so many questions. There's so many things that I feel they haven't thought out even, because I think that's why we're seeing these buildings on a spinning default plate. Yeah, sure, it's a good way to show them off in a non-cluttered environment, but it doesn't make sense. Because now it begs the question, how are these going to integrate into the world? And my guess is that they currently don't. And they currently haven't got a solution for that. Christ. Anyway, ladies and gents, I wanted to take a look at this. It's a bit of a wild update, and it makes no sense. Nothing ties together how it should, and it's more hilarity from the Earth 2 team. If you guys want me to take Shane up on this offer of an interview, I'd actually really be down to have a civil interview with him, because his mind is an absolute enigma, because I just can't figure out half the things that he's thinking. As always, ladies and gents, I'm going to be live over on Twitch after this. I'm going to be playing some D&D with the lovely Josh Strife Hayes, Billy Tricks, and Rage Darling. Quick update, I've actually been involved in a car crash over the last week, and it's severely messed up my arm. This is why there's been a lack of, 2 videos a week, because I've got severe nerve damage in that arm, and it's a struggle to edit things, at least at the speed that I was. And this is where I need to give a massive thank you to the patrons. You guys have really helped me out in the last week or two with this situation. It's allowed me to not post 2 videos a week and still be financially stable. If you guys are enjoying the videos, subscribe, leave a like, comment down below, and if you really want to go the extra mile, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Until next time, take care.